Morning, everybody. It is 8:10 a.m. It is May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Of course, always news over the weekend happening in markets. All right, this week we have FOMC. Okay, FOMC earnings season continues as well. A couple headlines from the weekend. We have Warren Buffett retiring from Berkshire Hathaway. We have Trump putting tariffs on overseas filming, sending Netflix down. We have OPEC continuing to put more supply out there for crude. Crude took a dip. I'm very interested in crude maybe bottoming here, so almost pulled the trade last night when I saw crude open down, but waiting for maybe another pullback here. So that's what's going on. All right. Markets continue their move up higher on Friday. Um, I think they're hitting streaks. I forget what date. I just saw the date. If they get another update today, I think it will be a record since 1994. So we'll have to see. Okay, but markets pulled back. So without further ado, welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day, along with my market internals. Okay, under a 30 VIX, my edge is back. Internals are very crucial to my edge. Okay, they help tell me what's under the hood of the markets. Okay, and Friday had a rocky beginning to internals, and then they steadied themselves and were positive the rest of the session. Okay, so I also had a nice trade on Friday. We could talk about that briefly. All right. Now, as always, hopefully you can join me every morning. I give you the market news, the lowdown, the story of the markets. I give you the market, the leaders, the laggards, the economic calendar, basically the 411 on the markets. Okay. Later on, I give you we go over daily charts. We go over the triple-headed monster, which is your bond market, your dollar, and your VIX. And later on, I analyze the Nasdaq and the ES futures, and I give you long and short trade scenarios. Okay. And I give you that plan. Then, of course, when the market opens, I don't know what will happen, but then I usually come up with another plan, right, based on market internals. Okay. So, without further ado, why don't we just get right into futures watch list here and see what's moving markets here. And of course, our VIX is back up 7.19%. All right, at a 24.31 VIX. All right, gold had a pullback, and people are buying that pullback, up 2.52. Silver's up 1.10. 30-year bonds pretty much flat. Dollar is down 0.42. 10-year yield is down 0.53. The Dow is down 0.59. ES down 0.77. Russell down 0.82. Nasdaq's down almost a percent at 0.92. Crude getting hit hard by that announcement by OPEC. Ethereum down 2.08 and Bitcoin down 3.06%. Okay, so Bitcoin the laggard this morning in futures. Let's move on to the Mag 7 Plus here. And there's no leaders here, but the strongest stock on this list is Eli Lilly. All right, let's go to the one percenters. Apple down 1.02%, GE down 1.10%, Broadcom down 1.10%, Nvidia down 1.21%, Amazon down 1.36%, Coinbase, Bitcoin Proxy down 1.82%, Berkshire Hathaway with Warren Buffett retiring and stepping down 2.82%. Netflix with the tariffs of overseas films down 5.44%, and that almost down 100 and something. Yeah, closed at 1156. They're at 1090 right now. So that's hurting Netflix today. All right, moving on to the guts of the market. Let's look at here. Now, you have real estate that's flat, which doesn't tell us much, right? We're going to go to who's the laggards today. Let's go to the bottom four here. Actually, we'll include semis. Semis is down 0.68. Technology down 0.78. Financials down 0.80. Now, Berkshire Hathaway has a large percentage weight in the financials, the largest. So that's going to pull down financials. Energy down 1.01% with that OPEC news. And communications, that is your Netflix. Okay, down 1.06%. That is the lagging sector this morning. Okay, now we can get into economic calendar, market news, earnings calendar. Let's do it. All right. We'll go over briefly what this week entails. All right. Now we have ISM services today. All right. At 10 a.m. Tomorrow, don't have much but API crude. Wednesday, you have FOMC at 2 p.m., followed by the press conference at 2 p.m. Thursday, jobless claims. And Friday, a ton of Fed speak. I don't see Powell in here, but there's a ton of Fed speak on Friday. Okay, that is this week. Now we're going to go move over to earnings. Earnings this week, notables. All right, the big ones are out of the way. But before the open, we had Berkshire Hathaway today. Tyson. All right. Now after the close, Palantir, Hims, Ford, Reality Income. Okay. Clorox. Before the open tomorrow, Celsius, Datadog. All right. Marriott, Ferrari. All right. DigitalOcean. And tomorrow after the close, were Microcomputers, AMD, Rivian, Arista, Upstart, Win, Lucid. Okay, so not the most heavily market cap weighted stocks this week, but important ones. Okay, important ones. All right, they're not market movers, but they're important. All right, we'll go over that every day. Go back here. We'll look at some news here. All right, so we have Trump's announcement of new 100% tariffs on movies produced outside the U.S. weighed on shares in Netflix, Walt Disney, Warner Brothers. Class B shares in Berkshire Hathaway were slightly lower after the investment conglomerate posted a 14% drop in the first quarter operating earnings versus the prior year, 9.64 billion, due in large part to insurance losses linked to the devastating wildfires in California. CEO and legendary investor Warren Buffett announced that he would be stepping aside, with Vice Chair Greg Abel due to succeed him. Shares of major oil majors like Phillips 66, Exxon, and Chevron pointed lower. The moves come after the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, a group known as OPEC, that makes a bulk of the global oil production, agreed to raise output 411,000 barrels a day. So when you have too much supply, that's going to lower price. Okay. Amazon shares tick down, leading other so-called Magnificent Seven mega cap technology stocks lower. Chip maker Nvidia, Facebook owner Meta, software giant Microsoft, iPhone maker Apple, Google parent Alphabet, and electric car maker Tesla also dipped prior to the opening bell on Wall Street. Spotify shares dropped after analysts at Philips Securities slashed their recommendations for the music streaming service to reduce from neutral. Hims share rose ahead of the telegroup's anticipated earnings release after the close of U.S. markets, and shares in Newmont, the world's largest gold miner, climbed, mirroring an uptick in the price of the yellow metal. Gold was bolstered in part by the weaker dollar. All right, so moving on to more news here. We talked about Berkshire Hathaway. We expect a pause in the FOMC statement this week. It says lawmakers target Nvidia chip smuggling to China with new bill. We talked about the Trump. All right, let's see here. Again, I will not report repetitive news. I'm just checking out here if there's anything I missed here. So we got Berkshire Hathaway. KBW raises target price to 735,000 from 730,000. All right, Block probably percent of cuts to target price 51 from 85. Chevron cuts target price 155 from 161. Cigna Group, Lee Rinks. What here? Hold on a second here. Give me one sec here. What did I say? Lee Ring Partners raised the target price to 365 from 325. All right, that's what's going on there. All right, now, what I want to get into. The juice didn't really have much for us today. All right, what I want to get into is some breadth charts. All right, now, first one I want to talk about. After this move higher, we're getting very frothy here. Okay, you look to the left here. Okay, from all the past times we come up into this level of, we're at 88. When we get in the 90% range, that usually signifies a little bit of a temporary top in the market, and you expect a little pullback, a correction. Okay, every time we move up here, look above. S&P takes a dip. Look here, S&P takes a dip. Here, a little dip. Up here, this one really didn't. It took a little dip there, a little dip. Okay, let's zoom in a little more here. So here you take a nice dip. So be very cautious here. All right, I'm very cautious. Could we go higher? Of course. But look here, the S&P just ripped up right into this consolidation area. I am very cautious. I almost went short on the Qs. I had the order and I took it off. I was like, you know what? Let me see some confirmation here. Obviously, that would have been a nice trade. Didn't know the tariff news would come. You just never know with the weekend, right? So that's one, right? Now, if you look at the bullish percent index here of the NASDAQ 100, it's at 79%. So that's just telling us 79% of the NASDAQ stocks in the NASDAQ 100 are on buy signals. If you look in the past, that is a very toppy number. Okay, that's a very toppy number. Okay. Now, if we look at the Fed Watch tool and we just look at what we're expecting on May 7th is 98% chance. It's a pause. Okay, 98% chance. It's a pause. All right. Now, moving on to hourly charts here. Just want to show you some key levels in futures that won't show up on your SPY and stuff. Okay. Let's look at that together. Here's our hourly charts. All right, so you're going to see a couple things on my charts here. All right, so here's a couple things to note. Okay. All right. We're in this channel. All right, number one. So I have a channel here, right? But you look at the top of this channel. Resistance, resistance. These are hourly candles, right? Resistance, resistance, right? Another thing to note. 57.17 is now the most traded price of the rolling year. Look where we came right into it. Right into it. I found resistance. Okay. This right here is the anchored VWAP and futures of 2025. This yellow line right here. Okay. So just wanted to show you this chart and notice that this high volume node acted as resistance, and it happens to be the most traded price of the rolling year. Okay, and we're in this channel, right? Just wanted to show you guys that. Now, if we move on to the NASDAQ, also has a channel, okay? And here's our channel, right? Look at this. From this candle, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a bunch of touches every time acts as resistance, and we have an uptrend line, right? So look at this level here. That is your anchor VWAP for 2025. Look what this candle hit right there. That's why I'm Confluence trading, right? You got this channel top. You got the anchor VWAP from 2025 acting as resistance. Okay. And now we're pushing lower. Now, do we come down and test this channel, right? We'll see. You have an anchor VWAP from this swing low that has not been tested. You have an anchor VWAP from this low down here that has really not been tested. Right here, it wasn't tested. So we have to see. Okay, those are just the levels I'm looking at. And you can see the structure that you kind of pushed up. Now we're back. This is last month's, I believe this is last month's highs. right there. Okay, so just wanted to show you those levels. All right, now we're gonna move on. All right, we're gonna move on to the daily charts. All right, so I want to always give you what I see. Okay, and those are very important to look at those daily charts like that because it gives you another perspective than just the markets that are open from 9:30 to 4. All right, like a SPY here. All right, so here's our daily charts. Let's look at these. Now, there's a couple things you could do with this chart just to show you how far we've come. Let's do that. Why don't we put a Fibonacci retracement here at the highs, go to this low, and the 61.8. Okay, that's usually your last line of defense of a retracement. We have closed above it. Okay, generally when you do the 61.8 retracement, you tend to go back to 100%. I don't know if we go back to all-time highs this year or soon. It's just a barometer. Okay, that's just a barometer. Okay, so that's number one. Now, you can see we had resistance here at anchor VWAP for the year, and SPY anchor VWAP for the year, we have closed above it. So now that would mean the average buyer for this year is in profit, the average seller is underwater. All right, so you can see right here is last month's highs. That was resistance for the market on Friday. And there's that big congestion here, this big consolidation base that I said that we're not going to be able to cut through very easily. Right there. Okay, right there. Now, where are we at now? 562. 562. We are all the way down here at the lows of Friday. Okay, look at futures. You can see Friday's highs, and now we're up here in the middle of Friday's 24-hour session, basically. All right, in futures. Okay, so let's see what we do. Let's look at the Qs. Here's our Qs. All right, close right at the 2025 anchor VWAP, and then look, you hit this 200-day movement. That's why I wanted to short the Qs at the highs, because I was like, 200-day moving average, people are going to take profits. And look, it's been resistance right here. It was resistance here, here. This is the third time it's being resistant. Okay, that's why I was like, oh, it'd be, I had an options play on, and I was like, man, this probably makes sense, but I just was like, you know what, let me see, and then it obviously would have been paying me right now, but that's okay. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. Now, where are we at here? 484. We're below the lows a little bit on Friday. All right, let's look at the futures real quick. Yeah, you can see we're pretty much at the midpoint of the futures. Okay. All right. Now, moving on to the bond market. Triple-headed monster here. Let's look right at that 10-year yield. That 10-year yield is being pesky here. Broke a downtrend here. Now we have swing high, swing high. Does this become the next swing high? I don't know. But we're definitely balancing here. Here's the anchor VF from 2024. Right? You have a declining 50-day. So this is like really just a mess with the bond market. It's just ripping around this 4.2 yield. Don't really know what's going to happen here. But this is your triple-headed monster. Okay. Let's move on to the dollar. Dollar here, we are just bottoming out here and range bound here for a while. It's probably going to break the 10. Like I said, I was looking bullish for the dollar, but I need some type of confirmation to break out of this level. That level would be like the 100.36, and you have this low here at 97.92. Really have to see with the dollar. Now, generally, usually a lower dollar is good for the markets, but it also could show that our currency is being devalued. So it can go both ways. It's good for commodities generally because every commodity is based in dollars. Let's look at the VIX. Here's the VIX. That's the fear gauge for 30 days out of fear. What are we looking for? Remember, I said my edge was dulled up in this area at the 30 VIX. Very wild market. And then once we get down into the 20s, my edge started to appear again. And that's very comforting for myself. So we're in the middle of last week's range. You can see that right here, right in the middle. We're hanging around the 20s. So still good volatility. The volume has been lower, right? But maybe this week we get a little push up, maybe not. I don't know. All right. Let's move on to market profile, volume profile. Just give me 1 sec while I change my workspace. Okay. We're going to get right into looking at the ES. All right. We'll recap what happened. Okay. And this is your market profile, volume profile analysis. Okay. And we'll get right into here. This is ES. This is what happened on Friday. All right. So we opened, pulled back, right? Around here, I got long in SPY around 563. I rode that all the way up to about here. Then we pulled back, broke that level, and then we just kind of like consolidate into the close. Okay. That was a good trade, more than a 2-to-1 return. I'll take that. Obviously, I would have got more if I would have just held. I had a runner, but I was like, you know what? I don't trust this market. The market was a little, it wasn't super strong for the technology, so I didn't think we were gonna go so too much higher. And again, QQQ hit the 200-day moving average. Here's this orange box. I don't know if you can see it that good. That's the most traded price of the rolling year. That has been resistance. Okay. If we look at the profile, you can see it has a very bullish imbalance to it. Look at this right here. All this here, right? Now, the most traded price of the week for the real-time trading hours is still down here at 55.50. All right, 24 hours has moved it up, but you really want to see the real-time, the regular trading hours here, RTH, move this up as well. Okay, probably will happen today. Somewhere up here, that would be bullish. Okay. So you can see here, we currently are at the lows of Friday. Okay, at the lows of Friday. What do we have here? Look at inventory here. Let's look at inventory. You basically had a drive low, open drive lower in the overnight, right lower. Boom. You have a poor low, which is a double bottom of the overnight session. Okay. So we're 100% net short and at the lows. We're at the most traded price of the overnight, around 56.64. Okay. That's what's going on. Right. We're inside right now. We're still inside Friday session. All right. Lot of volume traded here. Like I said, this could look like it wants to do one of these. Okay. That is not a completed profile. That has a bearish imbalance to this profile. I could see us definitely getting a move down. Okay. Very rarely you see a squat profile like that not work itself out. We have to see. Okay. If we look at the price action of the overnight, I'm going to split this out. There's just 30-minute bars. You can see the double bottom here. Okay. It's probably begging to be broken. We are in demand here. We are in a demand zone. But like I said, I can see this get the profile get corrected here. All right. Now we know we're 100% net short. We know shorts up here are getting paid. So we'll have to see what actually transpires here. So if we look at these levels here, obviously we have a big demand zone here. Right? We're working some of this off right now. Okay. We are at the lows of Friday right now. You have the poor low here. Okay. So this area here is an important area. Okay. With this, you have a little demand zone here as well with that double bottom. This is what we're going to look at here. Now you still have this perfect, beautiful confluence low at let's call it 5600 just to be right here. Right. That is susceptible, and the bulls need to defend this level 5600. Okay. 1, 2, 3 sessions defended it. Okay. So I would say down here. Okay, down here is your probably the last line for me in day trading that I want to see the market bounce to. If we break that, I probably don't want to be involved in a long. Now again, if the market's super weak here, I probably will second guess this too. Okay, so those are levels to be aware about. Now, what's the next big level? Supply zone up here, right up with the most traded price of the rolling year, 57.17. Okay. And you can also see the most traded price of Friday happened to be this level here at 57.09. That's that pink box. So all the traders are up here, and now we're opening lower. So I could definitely see on open, right? If you're not a futures trader and you had traded, let's say, options, and you had calls up in here hoping for a move higher because the most people traded up at the top of the session, you're waking up, you're underwater already. Okay. That's what I think could spur this move a little lower to people to get out of their positions. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at. That's the levels here. Now we're going to get right into scenarios today, right now. Okay, let's do it. I'm going to start with the bull case. Okay, now remember, this is a big demand zone area. All right, you really need to break this low. It's around 58.33, 56.33. Okay, and like I said, we're consolidating here. I expect to resolve this and to correct this. Okay, if the market, right, is not that weak in the morning, and say we get a nice little flush through, that's a little much. Hold on. If we get a push like this, right, correct this poor low, give some excess to this profile, right? Now, this is important right here, 56.33. Okay, let's see if we can open this up to show you why that's important here. All right, let's just open these up. Let's see if they can go back to back here of price action, right? You can see this level here has been support, right? These candles supported it. These bars supported it. Just so you see why it's supportive, not just a box on my screen. You probably have it here as well. Let's see. Yeah, see how that's that 56.33 level? Very, very important, right? Very, very important. So remember, market profile is only 30-minute bars put together. That's all it is. Okay, so if the market's not that weak, I wouldn't mind here seeing a little lower highs put in. Then you can work off some of these sellers, right? And try to test the 57 level, 57.17, the most traded price of the year, of the rolling year, right? Now, you really have to be strong to crack that and to go higher. Can it happen? Sure, right? Now, if the market happens to break the 56.33 level, you break that, right? Well, you got that big, big level of 5,600. 1, 2, 3 support levels here, right? This would be probably my last line. Now, if the market is not super weak, like, oh man, this is bad, and it's kind of like mildly weak to parity, and you just take a quick sharp down, yeah, I'm going to look to go long here, lower highs, and push up into this area again. Okay. The other thing too you could look for, let's see if this poor low isn't correct and you push up, right? You break the most traded price because these are shorts here. And you pull back, you can go a little bit as well. All right, that's the bull side. That's all I'm really interested in. Bear side, let's talk about it. All right, now price is right here, right at Friday's lows, right? Like I said, this has a bearish imbalance to the profile with this poor low in the overnight. 100% net short. Okay, so a couple things that can happen here. You could push up into the top of this, go through that most traded price, break the poor low, and you're going to test the 56.33 level. Okay, that's a big test for the market. Remember, this is a bearish case. So if we break that, we're going to come down and we're going to start testing that 5600 level. You probably get maybe a little bounce, but if you come through it, find acceptance, you're going to go test 55.50, the most traded price. Okay, that should have been well, it's the 24-hour most traded price of the month, 55.50. It currently is the most traded price of the week. That would mean price returning back to value. Okay, don't know if that's in the cards. Possible. right? Possible. That is a decent play. All right. Now, if the market happens to rebound and goes right into supply in this level, and so let's say we get a rejection up here, I think we probably can get a nice one here and probably just go back into this range. All right. Boom. That's your ES. Now, on to the NASDAQ. Okay, here's our NASDAQ. NASDAQ still in ultimate balance. Okay, meaning 195 is the most traded price of the month and the week, right? 24-hour has moved up higher, but I give more weight to the real-time trading hours, so we're down here. Okay, let's look at the levels we're at. All right, you can see currently you had a little long on the open, but pretty much 100% net short, and price is right there in demand, right at 24-hour most traded price at 199.50. Okay, so in the NASDAQ, we're gapping down a little bit. Gap fill will be 200. What is that? 219. Yeah, 20019. Right there. That's the gap fill. Okay. You can see we broke that confluence high here on Friday. All right. And we have that beautiful level down here. We'll call it 197.50. Okay. That's the same thing as that 5600 level in the ES. That level here is just has to be defended here. You want to be a bull. Okay. All right. So we have a big demand zone here. We are in that currently. Right. Price is right here. All right. You don't have that poor low like you do in the ES. Okay. So it's all about this support level right here. Just like in the ES, it's really similar to the ES. Okay. We're looking at 190.58 level right here. All right. So if we open up, let's see here. If we open up this bars aligned here, there's support there. Let's see here. Support again. And probably over here we have support. So right there you can see multiple supports. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at this 198.65 level. Okay. And we know we have support down here. All right. At 3 sessions down here. Okay. So these are areas that are just important. Okay. All right. So let me take some of that off. Okay. All right. So we're in this demand, right? We got a gap fill line up there. And we have our supply up here. Now we know, what do we know? Last week's highs right here. Supply, right? What else do we know in the QQQ? It hit the 200-day moving average. So look at the Qs hitting the 200-day moving average, the anchored VWAP and futures, right, of 2025, right? Big retirement resistance, right? Then you have the ES futures hitting the most traded price of the rolling year, right? And you just have big resistance areas, right? And this market's come so far, we're already starting to get a pullback, right? And we have so much news coming, so just be aware of that. All right, it's going to be the same stuff pretty much here. Let's talk about the scenarios. Okay. Mondays, I like to sit back a little bit. We do have ISM at 10 a.m. So, all right, so we're gapping down, all right, into a demand zone, right? So if the market just wants to take a nice correction here right off the open, I'm going to look obviously in this area to hold. We push down into this area. You got a lower high, lower high. You could see us moving back, going through that most traded price and seeing and testing probably try to test Friday's highs. Okay, that's number one. Number two, if we bust this support, this is the ultimate defense here. That 197, what did I call it? 50 level. Okay, this is the last line right here. Not making it a bear side, but just for the intraday. You want this defended, all right? If the market is kind of just mildly weak, this would be a nice area, lower highs, and start to push back up into this range. Okay, same thing with the ES. If we just pull down a little bit, move above the most trader price here in the overnight, which is around 200.68, hold that, you can start to go up to Friday's highs. Like I said, I don't know how likely it is that we break the highs today. Could it happen? Sure. All right, moving on to the bear side. Okay, price is here. Obviously, we can open gap lower, try to break the 198. What is the 60 level? Break that, you're going to that confluence low, that 197.50 level. All right. If you happen to break that hold, you are going to go and visit the ultimate balance level of 195. That is the ultimate defense for the Qs. That's the bull bear line. We break this, we're back into a very bearish sentiment. Okay, very bearish. Okay, you already went there once, recovered. Can we recover again? Probably less likely, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Okay, now another thing here is you can push up, test this most traded price over the overnight, 268. Try to go lower, fail. Now you can break and come probably try to test this level. Okay, another one is if we do push up into this supply, break last week's highs and fall back, I think we just chop around here for the rest of the session. Okay, all right, that will do scenarios. Hopefully everybody enjoyed that. If you did, smash the like button, that'd be much appreciated. As always, hopefully you can come join me every day, give you the market story, the lowdown. All right, I give you the leaders and the laggards, the market news, the economic calendar, the earnings calendar. And we went over the daily charts, and I just gave you the long and trade short scenarios in the ES and the Nasdaq. All right, so we have our plans. I'm gonna sit back, let data come in, let data come in. Let me see what's strong, what's weak, right, and then try to implement some type of plan. Hopefully, one of these plans trigger. If they don't, then you sit on your hands, right? And that's why I say no trade's a trade. All right. Hope everybody stays green, being in cash or putting risk on and having a nice trade. So, everybody, I still do updates on my Discord. Feel free to join. Okay, feel free to join. I do updates of what I am seeing. All right. So, everybody have a great day, and I'll see everybody tomorrow.